Welcome to the Authority Podcast, Plumbing and Mechanical. When talking about the built environment, we would do well to remember, we shape our buildings, and afterwards, our buildings shape us. Therefore, on each episode, we'll discuss the latest trends from IAPMO in plumbing and mechanical safety, sustainability, and resiliency. Join me, your host, Christoph Lohr, and together we'll explore the ways we can make our buildings shape us for the better. This episode is sponsored by Q-Flow International, offering innovative Legionella membranes filters to stop and help prevent legionellosis and more. Just because it's clear doesn't mean it's clean. Tom, welcome to the show.
Christoph, thanks for having me. Excited to be participating in this podcast for the first time.
Super excited to have you. I've been working with you now for a fantastic 2.5 years, and I'm excited to finally get you on here. Do you want to tell our listeners just a brief bit about what you do at IAPMO?
Sure. I cover a lot of different aspects at IAPMO pertaining to this podcast. Probably the most important aspect is the work I do with IAPMO R&T in the certification program in our IAPMO R&T labs. We've got labs around the world, and several of them do a lot of different product testing activities for the water treatment industry.
Well, and that's a great point, because as you mentioned in this podcast, what we wanted to really talk about was filters. And really what we wanted to lead off with was this question that maybe you can help our audience identify. What are the current types of filters that can mitigate contaminants such as lead or PFAS or Legionella threats? How do they work? How effective are they? Can you give us a broad overview?
I'll do my best. It's a simple question, but the answer may be a little more complex than you hope, but we'll kind of go through it one by one. First off, we don't really use the word mitigation in drinking water treatment at the consumer or the commercial building. Mitigation is kind of used more for treating groundwater, but we stick with terms like remove or reduce these type of chemicals. We'll pick lead to start with because it's been around for a while, causing quite a few problems over the years. There are a number of water treatment products that have gone through testing and certification to remove lead. There are products that are easy for consumers to set up and use, like pour through pitchers. A little more complex products like a carbon block that a consumer may use for his refrigerator filter. Or there's multi-stage products. There's reverse osmosis systems that use both filtration and membranes to reduce chemicals. There's multi-stage countertop and under-counter systems. And because lead has been a problem for a while, certainly there are a number of these products that have been tested, they've been certified to remove lead. How do they work? The technologies are different. A lot of them will absorb the chemical in the product and hold it there. ROs will actually reject it. They will send one stream down the drain, one stream to a tank to store, and they send the lead and other chemicals down the drain. And again, you asked, I guess, how effective they are. Well, they're very effective. There are very rigorous standards that exist today to evaluate product performance. Typically these standards are written where we challenge the product with 3 times the normal levels found in drinking water. And that product has to reduce the contaminant for the life of the filter below EPA's maximum contaminant level that's allowed in drinking water. So, there's a lot of products certified. IAPMO tests and certifies a lot of these products for lead reduction. Easy to find. There are requirements that manufacturers have to put their certification, what they've been tested for, right on the literature. So it's not difficult to find these products in a variety of price ranges out there. When we get to PFAS chemicals, it's a little bit more complicated. So PFAS stands for per and polyfluoral alkyl substances, and there are thousands of these chemicals that have been produced, and many of them that are being found in drinking water today. There are 2 PFAS chemicals that have been in our industry standards for a while, PFOS and PFOA. They were 2 of the first to be found in drinking water, and standards were written around removing them. So there are a number of products that IAPMO was tested and certified to demonstrate that they remove PFOS and PFOA. Now, more recently, the standards were updated. We added some additional chemicals to the industry standard, PFAS chemicals. So now there's PFHXS, PFNA, PFHBA, PFBS,
A lot of
PFDA,
letters. A
like a
lot of
word
letters.
salad. Yeah, a lot of P words for these poly and perfluorochemicals. So the standards have been updated. So now companies have the option to include these additional PFAS chemicals when doing testing and certification. But the story even gets more complicated because the US EPA recently announced its proposed PFAS rule. That rule includes specific PFAS chemicals, many of which I just mentioned in the standard, but there's one Gen X that wasn't there. So EPA plans to regulate PFOA, PFOS, the two chemicals that have been in our standards for a long time, PFNA, PFHXS, PFBS, HFPODA, which is sometimes referred to as Gen X. So our standards group is going to be working to probably modify the standard again to make sure we capture the chemicals that the US EPA is interested in. What this really means is consumers are going to soon have the ability to have additional products out there that have been tested and certified for additional PFAS chemicals. What's important for consumers to really understand is what is in their drinking water, and sometimes you don't know these PFAS chemicals because they're not regulated. So what do we do there? Well, then try and find a product that's been tested and certified for as many PFAS chemicals that the standard allows, I guess, at this point in time. But once you know what's in your water, if you've got lead in your water, if you've got other contaminants,